Welcome, everybody, to tonight's call. This call is going to be really exciting. We're glad that you're here. This is a call all about the protocol that we've been talking about and practicing that is changing lives all over the world. And if that sounds like a bit of an overstatement or an exaggeration, I'm going to prove that it is not in the slightest. We have some incredible people on this call tonight, incredible stories. We have a protocol that is natural. That means there are no drugs in it. It is a very simple protocol that anyone can follow. And in 90 days, experience the most dramatic, measurable changes to their blood work, their overall health. And it is incredible the way you'll feel. That's why we call it Feel Great. It's the Feel Great protocol, because the first thing you'll notice is how well you feel. And so for anybody that's new on this call, I will be explaining the protocol in a moment. I'm going to explain exactly how it works and exactly how you can follow this protocol. It's so simple. Seriously, so simple. Follow this protocol and change your life, maybe even save a life. Okay. So I'll just begin this call by introducing myself. My name is Trent. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. So if you ask me questions that are doctor questions, I won't answer them. Okay. I am a regular guy who has struggled my entire life with things like overeating, with cravings, and my entire life I've been a yo-yo dieter. I literally have struggled since I was a kid, since I was in junior high school, and it's something that has been a nonstop battle for me. My dad, my wonderful dad, died. He died from stage 4 colon cancer. He had, well, I'll actually show a picture of my dad as I'm explaining him and tell you why I'm so passionate about this. Sorry, I'm a little wobbly today. Why I'm so passionate about this and why I talk about it. So I now have a lot of social media channels and have a lot of followers all over the world who I teach what I have learned about metabolic health. And on these calls, we bring the real experts, the real medical professionals in to get their take and their insights on why this protocol is working so well. So, just to begin, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen briefly and introduce myself and why I'm so passionate about this. And it will make sense later why I'm doing this. It's very important to me that you get a good feeling for what this protocol is all about. This is about saving lives. This is about changing the world. When we started doing these calls, just a handful of us were present. Now there are 290 people on this call right now 293 and counting, and thousands more that will watch this, because what we are doing is working. And what we are doing would have saved my wonderful dad's life if I had only known about it. So my dad was insulin resistant. He was a pre-diabetic with high blood sugar, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. He had horrible gut health. He had psoriasis all over his body and took medications for each of these problems. He was on a cocktail of drugs. And doctors did their best, and I love the great doctors. Many great doctors on tonight's call who we love, they did their best, but really, my dad had a real struggle with discipline when it came to food. And that is something I've experienced my whole life as well. And so my dad, great guy that he was, really struggled with food. And as he got sicker and sicker and took more and more drugs, one of the side effects of the drugs he took for his psoriasis was colon cancer. And so he got it and he passed away. And I, when my dad got sick, just decided to dedicate my life to educating people about how to avoid these problems, avoid the hospital naturally, how to get off drugs and stay off them just by following a simple protocol that anybody can follow. So that is what these calls are about. And we want to tell you the protocol. We're going to teach it to you. For anybody that's new, we're glad that you're here, and we will get right into it in a moment. We have a very special guest on tonight's call, Dr. MIJ Brown, a pediatric endocrinologist from Toronto, Canada, who I cannot wait to hear from. But first, we have a little tradition here. And when we get these calls started, the very first thing that we like to do is I like to bring in a stranger. And this is somebody who I do not know from a previous life. This is not a paid actor. This is a man named Harvey Harrington, who is, as I understand it, a former football player, professional football player. And Harvey, remind me, what state are you in? Is it Illinois or Iowa?
Iowa.
Iowa.
On
Okay.
the border.
On the border. Okay. Well, Harvey, you have been on this protocol for a relatively short period of time, and your results are pretty incredible. So maybe just introduce yourself, tell everybody who you are, and where were you at with your health prior to starting this protocol?
Um, Thank you for having me, first of all. Thank you for the invite. Who am I? I'm a motivational speaker. I travel around, so I've used my platform from playing professional football to travel around and pour into students that ultimately led me to speaking at companies and things like that. My degree is kinesiology, so I've been in the health and wellness industry my entire adult life. So I've been a personal trainer, owned a fitness facility for 15 years. I've been a director at 2 different YMCA's. So my life has been health. That's been my entire life. Worked with, I've even helped other athletes become professional athletes. So that's what I've done for a living for a very long time. And once upon a time, I was a pretty healthy dude.
All right. Well, and right before starting this protocol, I guess really, I think it was during COVID, maybe, or you said that a few years back you found yourself kind of in dire straits. Maybe tell everybody, where were you at with your health just a
So
short time ago?
in 2020, I found out I had cancer. I'm a cancer survivor. And I found out in January. And of course, we know what happened in March, and the country shut down. So I couldn't get to hospitals. I couldn't get surgery done. So my family and I went through a pretty rough time with that. And it took me till May to get that kidney taken out of my body, which had completely imploded inside of my body. So it was a pretty rough time. Um, but because of my wiring, and thank goodness that I had a really good kidney doctor in Iowa City that listened to me, when I got home, so I had the surgery done in 24 hours. My wife dropped me off. No one can go to the hospital with you. I walked in at 11, on the table at 12:30, walked out the next day at 12 o'clock. Mind wiring, though, they wanted to keep me for 2 days. I'm just not wired to stay like that. So I went home. My family doctor put me on metformin. Thank goodness my 2 kidney doctors saw it and called me immediately to tell me to get off of it, because my kidney I had left was only functioning at 31%. So I was in stage 3 kidney failure. Got myself healthy. My kidney doctor said, "Hey, I know what you do. I just want you to do this. You can't go out anywhere. You cannot get COVID. It could destroy you, put you in dialysis for the rest of your life." So we did. We were locked down. My kids, we couldn't leave. We didn't leave our house for a year and a half in fear of COVID until the shots came out. But I got myself healthy, got my kidney back up on my own with eating and exercise to about 51%, which is still 3 and 2 pinging back and forth in kidney failure, and got healthy. Went back to work when the shots came out, started speaking and traveling again, and got healthy and worked with all of my clients, and everything was good. You want me to keep going so I can finish this, or?
No, keep going. Yeah. So, yeah.
So 2021, great. 2, great. 3, great. I'm training, doing some great things with my clients and speaking again. And January hits of last year. And I just so happened, because I stopped checking my blood sugar. I started checking my blood sugar again. At the time, I was still doing finger pricks. My blood sugar had gone back up into the 350s. And I'm like, oh boy. And I come off of vacation. So I'm like, okay, maybe it was the 10 days of having fun on vacation. And so I go to work, exercising, eating right again, and my blood sugar wouldn't go down. Then I start feeling fatigued. So I called my family doctor. I said, get me to a specialist. I see an endocrinologist. He convinced me to get on Ozempic. I didn't want to. I'm not a medication guy. And so I get on Ozempic. Through that summer, a whole bunch of weird things start happening. I developed an irregular heartbeat. I started getting fatigued, feeling like bouts of depression. I'm telling my wife about all of this. And Ozempic didn't do anything other than, I think, it helped me get my blood sugar down. It didn't work, so the doctor put me on Mounjaro. Mounjaro didn't work. My heart, I started developing this irregular heartbeat. In November, my heart wakes me up in the middle of the night, beating rapidly, like 170. Never happened before. Off to the emergency room. I had to have my heart stopped that night and reset. And that's not something I would wish on anybody. We go home that morning, start making calls to get to a heart doctor. It happens again 5 days later in the middle of the night. Back to the emergency room. Thank goodness for doctors. I don't ever bash doctors. I don't. The doctor that was on call that night, he said, we got to move this fast because you'll be back here in 2 or 3 days. Something was wrong with the nerve in my heart. And so in December, right before Christmas, I had heart surgery. Minor. It's all different today. Even my kidney surgery was different. They didn't cut me open. There's holes all over from a computer doing it. But so they go in, burn the cell off my heart. You're awake with all of this, by the way, with no pain meds. Burn the nerve off of my heart. And I go home and heal up. January, I'm wired this way. I'm like, I just got to get back right. All of my knowledge, 30 plus years, I got to get back right. What do? Do more cardio, fat boy. So I started doing cardio, and I set a goal to do 500 miles in a month. If anybody's ever listened to David Goggins, you'll understand. I'm not going to use his words, but you'll understand how he speaks. So he's in my head, and I'm on the bike. I'm like, I'll do 300. And, he starts dropping F-bombs in my head. I was like, no, I'm going to do 500. I'm going to do Yeah, I'm going to do 500. I'm talking to myself. And so I did 500 miles on the bike in 26 days. And I'm fired up, but the scale didn't move. All my knowledge, everything I know, but I'm still excited. I go to the gym a week later. I was like, I just got to do 100 miles. I got to do 100 miles in one day. I go to Y, do 100 miles in under 6 hours. That's a lot of soreness, by the way. And so, but things aren't right. And I'm coming to an end of my knowledge and education. 30 plus years of working with so many people. And I'm wired in a way. I'm like, what to do, because I got this pill box. And I remember a call from John. And I called John and told him what was wrong. And he told me about this protocol. And he was smart enough to know me. He sent me information because he tried to reach out to me a year and a half prior. And I didn't want anything to do with what he had to say other than congratulate him for his health. But I'm the personal trainer. I'm the guy, something I preach. I wasn't listening to myself. John, great for you. See ya. I got to go, man. I hadn't seen him in a couple of years. And so he sent me information, and it led me down the path of saying, I got to try this because I'm stuck. Or what they've been telling me, I got to do this for the rest of my life.
So I just want to make sure I've got this right. Cancer survivor, lost a kidney, other kidney functioning in the 30 percentile, you're 30% rather. You're doing cardio like a lunatic. The scale's not moving. Your blood sugars are trending higher, the 300s, 350s. Doctors are recommending medication. So we get where you were, which is dire straits. What has happened to you since starting this protocol over the last few months?
First week, I lost 8 pounds. Second week, I lost a total of 19 pounds. And I just so happened I see a doctor every 3 months with all these health issues I've been through. I go to my doctor and he tried to steal my thunder. I was happy. I walked in with the biggest smile on my face because he knew I'd been trying. And I'm like, 19 pounds, doc. He's like, yeah, what are you doing? And I told him, oh, nobody can do that. I said, are you kidding me? I said, you got to do that for the rest of your life. I was like, no, I don't. I've done the reading now, doc. I know your key story about diabetes. Maybe you haven't refreshed some of your information. I can reverse this. I can put it in remission. Now I'm just under 60 days. I'm 42 pounds down.
Holy cow.
All the inflammation is gone. I don't want to scare anybody, but I went on a mission. I was already riding hard, so I'd already got my heart and lungs full, so I went on a mission. I locked down and here's what I've been telling my friends. You know how the beavers will dam up a river overnight? I feel like the protocol exploded the dam.
Broke the dam.
And I have all people got to do is look at I don't have any befores and afters, but I've been on fire with this thing. And I'm sick as a dog right now. I'm on prednisone, antibiotics. I work at my kids' school. Yeah. So work at my kids' school. Another great thing I like about it is I I tell people, don't fall off the wagon. I've stepped off the wagon. I'm not fasting right now. I'm eating because I got to get past this gunk that's in my 8th graders left me with last week as I walked away from school. And this program for a guy that's been in the health industry my whole life that was really upset when John sent me them. I was upset when I read about this because I've been doing this. I am great at what I do, but I thought I was healing with helping people lose weight, and I wasn't. I was just helping people lose weight and getting rid of a little inflammation, not healing. And now I can't wait till all my doctor's appointments this summer. I can't wait.
Well, we are so proud of you, Harvey, and we're so happy for you. I want to let everybody know who's on the call who didn't lose 40 pounds in their first 60 days. Okay, neither did I. That is something that would happen in very rare circumstances, lots of inflammation like Harvey had. So in fact, I did not lose a pound, not 1 pound for the first 5 weeks. I felt good. I felt great, right? But the scale hadn't started moving yet. And then it was like things just unlocked. It was like the dam broke. So Harvey, thank you for your story. Because we've got other speakers lined up, I have to move on. But
absolutely.
Man, I'm so proud of you, and congrats on getting your blood sugar under control, the diabetes, everything. We're very, very happy for you, and hope to hear an update from you sometime in the future. Thank you, Harvey.
Oh, you will. Thank you.
Awesome, brother. Okay, awesome. So we like to kick off every call with a story, right? A story from somebody who maybe was in dire straits with their health. Maybe they were frustrated, stuck, afraid, right? And this protocol has been a game changer for them. And so we're so proud of Harvey. Now, we're going to dig into the protocol. I'll get to that in just a moment here. But first, we have a guest speaker. This is a guest speaker who is a doctor, a medical doctor, a physician in Toronto, Canada. Her name is Dr. MIJ Brown, Dr. MIJ Brown, but she goes by MIJ. And Dr. MIJ is one of the most incredible people I've ever met. Over the last couple of years, I have gotten to know her. You know, I obviously follow her on social media. We follow each other, and she is just absolutely incredible. And we've asked her tonight to come to this call to teach about blood sugar and A1c. Why is blood sugar and A1c something to be aware of, even for young people, even for healthy people? What does it mean when you have high blood sugar? What happens inside your body? What happens to your fat cells, right? What does it mean to have an elevated A1c? Why should we care about it? And most importantly, how can we address it as aggressively as possible to win our health back? So Dr. MIJ is amazing. I'm going to minimize myself and maximize her and let her take it from here.
Thanks, Trent. That's so nice. It's an honor to be here. And Harvey, your story was incredible. Like, that's amazing. I'm going to share my screen and hopefully I can do this okay. Hold on, guys. I'm old, so.
We see it. It's coming up.
Awesome.
We see a Zoom window now. Good.
Okay. Oh, hold on. Slideshow. All right. Okay. Yes. Okay, so I just want to share my story with you guys about why this product and this mission is so important to me. But my story actually starts with my father, who 28 years ago developed type 2 diabetes. And because he had ignored his symptoms for so long when he was diagnosed, he was really sick and he actually had some complications upon diagnosis, right? And the worst of them all has been his dementia, as he's gotten, progressively worse in the 28 years that he's had diabetes. And because of his diagnosis, I actually decided to go into endocrinology. I was doing my pediatric residency at the time, and I wanted to really help him to manage this issue. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to help him as much as I wanted to. And once again, he had all of these complications. So about 7 years ago, I developed prediabetes. And at that time, I got really scared. I knew that medications were not going to save me. And I really dug deep into trying to figure out what could save me. And I found some fantastic principles like intermittent fasting and carb restriction. But my problem is is that I'm a foodie. I love carbs, and I kept falling off the keto wagon, I call it, where I'd be really good for a while and then I'd fall off, and I'd fall off hard. And so I found my prediabetes progressing. I needed to go on metformin. I gained weight. I had brain fog. I had low energy. I had a lot of anxiety, and I just, was struggling. And it was about October 2022 when I came across this young man on TikTok. His initials are TT, and he was telling me things that as a doctor, I'm kind of embarrassed that I felt like I didn't know. And then he started sharing this protocol. And after doing a lot of fact checking and a lot of research into the protocol, I decided, what's the harm? I'm going to try it. And I'm so grateful I did, because it literally changed the trajectory of my health, where within 3 months, I was able to lose 20 pounds. So at the time, I was 52, so I was already postmenopausal, and that in itself is a miracle. But I was able to reverse my prediabetes, get off metformin, my brain fog went away, my energy got better, my skin tags disappeared, and my anxiety mostly gone. I still have anxiety, but it's mostly gone. And I was like, this is incredible. So then, of course, I voluntold my husband, Dr. Steve, to go on the products, and he was able to lose 30 pounds. He got off his blood pressure medications, and he had had psoriasis for most of his life, and we were able to reverse his psoriasis. So that was incredible. Now, for my dad, because of his dementia, we did not get him to change his diet at all. We just had him use the products, because he literally, one of the best joys in his life is food. So I didn't want to take that away from him. But my mom was very consistent with giving him the products, and he loved the taste of the products, so he took them. And within 6 months, we were able to bring his hemoglobin A1c down from my 8.3 to 6.3, which is crazy. And it probably could have been faster and lower had he done some of the other principles about, of the whole protocol. So I'm just floored at the results. And my only regret was that I didn't find this sooner, so that we could have actually prevented my father's dementia. But with this system, I've been able to help people all around the world and really start doing what I went into medicine to do, which is to help people reverse their disease. So you guys don't need a Zoom presentation to know that we are literally in trouble when it comes from a health perspective, right? Literally 9 of the 10 leading causes of death that we're all suffering from are lifestyle and dietary diseases. And these diseases are actually due to poor metabolic health, which is insulin resistance. So that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about how we got insulin resistance, like why now, and why it's leading to all of these problems. And then I'm going to talk about the quintessential disease of insulin resistance, which is diabetes, and how we can effectively manage diabetes. So the first thing I want you guys to know is that all carbs, right, whether it's healthy whole grains or the genetically modified fruits and veggies, turn into sugar in our bloodstream, right? And the thing that's really important to know is that in any given moment in our bloodstream, we only have like 1 teaspoon of blood or 1 teaspoon of sugar circulating in that blood at any given time. And it only takes half a teaspoon more of extra blood or extra sugar in your blood to end up having type 2 diabetes, right? But for the majority of us, we are eating about 200 to 300 grams of carbohydrates every day, which is about 50 teaspoons of sugar. And this is about 50, but that's about 50 to 75 teaspoons of sugar that we're eating. And the problem is that, the other thing is that insulin is the hormone that is sent by your pancreas to bring your blood sugar down, right? It literally opens the door to let the sugar from the blood go into the cells so that you can use it as energy. Now, the problem is that we are eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner and snacks in between, right? So 5 or 6 times a day, and our blood sugar goes up every time we eat. And as a result, our insulin level goes up in order to deal with that blood sugar, right? And now this is why we get insulin resistance, because when our blood sugar is chronically elevated all the time, it leads to resistance. And that's with anything in our body, right? We naturally become resistant to it. But because we're still eating all of these carb-heavy foods, our blood sugar keeps going up and our insulin needs to come up in order to deal with that blood sugar. But because of the resistance, now your insulin level actually has to be even higher in order to deal with that blood sugar, which then leads to even more resistance, right? Which then means the next time you eat, you have to make more insulin. And this becomes a vicious cycle where you're making more and more insulin and you're getting more and more resistant until one day your blood sugar or your insulin level can't keep up. And that's a thyroid insulin hormone. And your blood sugar actually starts to climb and you're diagnosed with diabetes. But there's a couple of things I want you guys to realize is that this problem with insulin resistance has been going on for many, many years before the diagnosis of diabetes. It can be 5, 10, 15, even up to 20 years before there's any clue that there's a problem with your blood sugar. And this is something that is a big gap in our knowledge as, conventionally trained doctors, right? We're alerted to high blood sugar, but we're really not alerted to this issue with insulin resistance. So that's one of the first things I want you guys to realize. And that's why when you go to your doctor with all the symptoms I'm going to talk to you guys about, right? They'll usually put you on a medication for it rather than addressing the insulin resistance. The other thing I want you guys to know is that insulin, one of its functions is lowering the blood sugar, but that's just one of the many functions. In fact, it has hundreds of other functions in our body. And that is why when there's a problem with either too much insulin or the resistance to it, you're going to get so many symptoms. And all of us are feeling it, right? Just food cravings, brain fog, anxiety, depression, abdominal obesity, high blood pressure, high triglycerides, PCOS in women, erectile dysfunction in men. We often have migraines, GI symptoms, the skin tags, the pigmentation, the feeling hungry all the time, inability to lose weight. These are all symptoms of insulin resistance. And yet we are not trained to recognize these as such. And now if insulin is left to progress, it leads to diabetes, which we're going to talk about in more detail. But the other thing about it is that insulin resistance is actually the biggest risk factor for heart disease, the biggest risk factor and the driving force for why we are all getting obese. Once again, for PCOS, for osteoarthritis, for fatty liver disease, for cancer, right? For low testosterone issues, and then diabetes, dementia, and Alzheimer's, which is now called type 3 diabetes. So hold on one sec, I have to take a sip. So why now? Why exactly is this happening? Well, I think the biggest cause right now is our diet and our lifestyle. And I want to break it down by talking to you guys about the 3 macronutrients that we eat, which is carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, right? And for the most of us, we have been trained and told to eat predominantly carbohydrates in our diet, where most of our food is processed food. So for an adult, most of our food is about 60% ultra-processed food. It's actually worse in kids. It's about 70%. And most of those ultra-processed foods is carbohydrates. And the reason why that's so impactful is that literally carbs is the one macronutrient that raises your insulin level the most, right? And if you looked at protein, it actually only raises your insulin level by 20 to 30% compared to the carbohydrates. And fat, almost none at all. But we've literally been told to eat mainly carbohydrates, right? We don't need as much protein, they say, and then we need to fear fats. And it's the opposite of what we want to do, which is to keep our insulin levels down, which we're going to talk about later. The other reason why we're all getting sicker and sicker right now is because of all of these messages around how often we should eat, right? Like we've all heard these, we all believe it, which is that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, that we need to eat every 2 to 3 hours to keep our metabolism up, right? These are not based on science or facts. These are based on profits. They want us to be eating all the time so that we keep buying their foods. But in fact, when they did studies looking at people who have been fasting for up to 4 days, not only did their metabolism not go down, it actually went up. And that's because we have an alternative fuel source on our body, which is our fat stores, right? But the way we're eating all the time and our insulin's elevated all the time, we're never able to access it, our fat stores. Okay. So I'm going to talk about the stages of blood sugar because this is the quintessential thing that is happening in our body, and the fact that insulin is working over time, because high blood sugar is very, very damaging. So in stage 1, you may have some elevations, but you don't need to have any signs of high blood sugar, right? But you're going to get a lot of symptoms. You're going to be fatigued all the time. You're going to have cravings. You're going to have brain fog. You may have frequent urination and thirst. In stage 2, you may start to get some changes in your blood sugar, but you don't have to. But oftentimes at this stage, you're going to have blurry vision, you're going to have headaches, you're going to have trouble focusing, you're going to start to have these skin signs like skin tags or darkened skin, where you've got what we call acanthosis nigricans, where it looks like you've got dirt on your neck or your underarm, but it's not coming off, right? You may also start to have like fatty liver and other issues with complications. Now, stage 3 is the pre-diabetes stage, where your actual blood sugar is now elevated, right? Where your hemoglobin A1c is between 5.7 and 6.4%. I actually hate the name of this stage, pre-diabetes, because it sounds like it's early something, but it's actually not. It's really late stage insulin resistance, right? And in this stage, you're going to get the belly fat. You're going to get being hungry all the time. You may start to have fatty liver disease, etc. The other thing I want you guys to know about this stage is that some of these complications and symptoms are fluid. Like some of these you might get in stage 2, other ones you won't get until stage 4, right? But for example, things like erectile dysfunction and low T, you might get that even before your blood sugar starts to be elevated. So I want you to know that some happen earlier and others later, but this is just the general guideline. And then in stage 4, you have the diagnosis of type 2 diabetes, where your hemoglobin A1c is over 6.5%. You're going to have issues with poor wound healing, kidney damage and failure, and heart attacks. And once again, type 2 diabetes is the biggest risk factor for heart disease. And then in stage 5, the advanced stage, this is where you have chronic high blood sugar that's leading to organ damage. So you'll have issues like severe nerve pain, neuropathy, numbness, actual loss of vision and blindness. My father actually had this upon diagnosis. So he was very, very advanced right on diagnosis. You'll have kidney failure, amputations, and then once again, dementia and Alzheimer's, which is now type 3 diabetes. Okay, hold on one sec. I'm just going to take a sip. So it's very clear how damaging high blood sugar is to our bodies, and lowering it is vital for our health. But how do we do this, right? How do we do this effectively? And why are most medications failing us? So many diabetes medications focus on lowering blood sugar, but they don't address the root cause, the insulin resistance. Some medications actually increase your insulin levels in an effort to bring the blood sugar down, which over time is just going to worsen the insulin resistance. Even worse is when you give a type 2 diabetic insulin. This is like, makes no sense, because this is actually going to really make the insulin resistance worse. And it's often associated with increasing obesity, with increasing heart disease, with increasing all-cause mortality due to worsening insulin resistance. And then some medications are just taking that blood sugar and pushing it into the cells, making the blood sugar levels better, right? But is it really solving the main problem, right? It's like sweeping like dirt under a rug, right? You don't see the dirt anymore, but your house isn't really clean. So what we need to do is change our lifestyle and really implement effective strategies that encourage your insulin to be more, for you to be more sensitive to insulin. And that is by fasting, to give your body a break, to allow your body to bring its insulin levels down so you can become more sensitive, right? By controlling your carb intake, especially the refined carbs, so that it prevents the large spikes in your blood sugar and your insulin, by prioritizing protein and healthy fats, which you guys saw from the previous slide, doesn't impact our insulin as much, by introducing more fiber into our diet, which is really going to help us especially when we eat the carbs, because it's going to slow the absorption of the sugar to help the blood sugar levels stable and your insulin levels be stable. And then add something as simple as walking, which will allow your muscles to use up that blood sugar so that we can improve the blood sugar control and overall insulin sensitivity. So it's lifestyle changes like this that's actually going to tackle the root cause, which will then help the symptom and the actual root cause, which is insulin resistance. So that's it. Thank you so much, Trent.
Midge, I love that. I feel like you are an absolute expert. I mean, you obviously are an expert, but you've become such an expert at articulating the information in a way that laymen like me can understand it and really, really see what the problem is and how to fix it. So thank you so much, Dr. Midge. I love hearing your story about you and your dad. And we are all so grateful on these calls. Just so the group knows, I mean, there's over 400 people here right now. And whenever we invite Dr. Brown, it seems like we get a big crowd like this. So there's over 400 people here right now, and we're all being educated for free by an endocrinologist who wants to keep us out of her office, out of the ER, out of, the grave, right? And so we're grateful to you, Dr. Midge. And Dr. Midge, we will definitely have you back. Thank you so much.
Guys.
Okay, so Dr. Midge is amazing. And if you're here, there's 400 people here. And then on Facebook and on YouTube and Restreams, there are thousands of people that are going to watch this. I want to ask you, we're going to do some audience participation here, okay? So do me a favor. I want to show you the protocol. But first, I'm curious, okay? So the only reason why we have 400 people here right now in this live Zoom is because this protocol works so amazingly well that some people come to this call every week and they invite people every week because of the changes they're experiencing in their life. And I want to give you some insight on that in a moment. But if you're new and you're here for the very first time, if you have not started the protocol yet and you're kind of tapping your foot being like, man, when is this guy going to get to the point and teach me how to do this protocol that he keeps talking about? Write the word new in the chat. If you're new, write new in the chat. Look at that. New. There's Mary Kane. Mary Kane says she's new. Tammy Sellers. Loic Rivard. Catherine, Wesley's iPhone. Okay. New. Look at all those. Okay. So welcome to all those that are new here. You're going to see something that frankly, I would not believe myself if I hadn't seen it, if I hadn't seen the blood work and seen the numbers. Okay. If you're a medical professional, we have a lot of doctors, nurses, dietitians, diabetes educators, people that work in the medical community. If you're in the medical community, thank you for being a part of this movement. Would you just write medical in the chat? Write medical in the chat. Look at that. We are so grateful to all the wonderful people in the medical community that are on board with this protocol. And I'm going to get some, wow, holy cow, this is just awesome. Look at that. Look at that. New people and medical people, welcome. And everybody else, welcome too. I mean, I'm not excluding you, but I'm going to get everybody else. I'm going to ask for your participation in just a second. I want to set the table for this protocol, and then I'm actually going to do a live demo. So I've got a couple of bottles here, and I've got a little tray, and I've got some props here, and we're going to do a little demo. In fact, let's go ahead, and I'm going to set the table. So this is nothing more than a blend of plant fiber. There are no drugs in this. It is a blend of plant fiber. This is a blend of plant fiber that is going to change the world. okay? I want you to see what happens when I mix this with water, okay? When you mix this in water, so you take any bottle of water, leave about that much in the bottle, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to mix this in water. I want you to watch what happens, okay? So we're going to set this and we're going to come back to it here in a moment. So we're going to just shake it twice, okay? It's ready. And if you look at that, look really carefully at that. It looks like it's almost like orange juice, right? Pretty thin consistency, just like orange juice for now. Let's let it sit for a moment, okay? We have something that is going to change the world and save, I think, millions of lives from premature death. And I want to prove that to you over the next 10 minutes or so. So first, for all the medical professionals that are on the call, you are likely very familiar with the physician's desk reference, the PDR. And for those that are not medical professionals, I'd like to tell you what this is, okay? So this is the guide that doctors and medical professionals turn to look up drugs, their drug interactions with other drugs, and to look up what the drug does, what its side effects might be, and any other necessary information to the prescriber, okay? So this is, some people have called this the doctor's Bible. It's a book, a reference rather, for prescription drugs and natural alternatives to prescription drugs, okay? Now, everybody is familiar with pharmaceuticals, right? You know what a pharmaceutical is. Most people know about pharmaceuticals. In fact, most people that are adults over the age of, let's say, 40 or 50 are taking one or more of these pharmaceuticals. Many people, right? So many people are taking a statin drug. There are lots of different types of statins, and these would be drugs that you take to lower LDL cholesterol, right? It's a lipid-lowering drug. Many people are taking drugs like metformin, and metformin is used to lower blood sugar. And metformin is a very effective drug. It lowers blood sugar by somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 30% pretty reliably, okay? Ozempic is a drug that lowers food noise. It does some other things too. No doubt all of these drugs do other things as well, but these are really why people are using them, right? These drugs, these pharmaceuticals. Now, any drug, every drug is going to have some side effects, but the patient and the doctor negotiate and often determine that the side effects are worth the benefits, right? Still, some people refuse to take drugs or maybe take them but aren't really consistent or compliant, right? And so you'll hear lots of people that refuse to take drugs that want to talk about natural remedies, okay? Now, some of these natural remedies have a lot of hype, and some of them actually have a lot of proof, right? So for example, there are something called phytosterols. There are dozens, maybe hundreds now of clinical studies saying that phytosterols lower LDL cholesterol naturally without any drugs. And if we went down the list, we can find lots of natural remedies that are clinically proven to do the same things that the drugs do, right? The challenge with these natural remedies is it's hard to know how much to take, when to take it, how's it going to interact with maybe another medication you're taking. How do I know I'm getting the right source? How do I know I'm not taking something that's going to put me in the hospital, right? And so there's a lot of ambivalence around these natural remedies, okay? So there is something that most people have never heard of that's called a nutraceutical. A nutraceutical. What is a nutraceutical? A nutraceutical is a non-drug that usually consists of combinations of natural remedies, but they've been standardized and clinically tested and proven to work often as well as the medication, and sometimes maybe even better than the medication, but without any drugs, Okay, so there are two nutraceuticals, a nutraceutical called Balance and a nutraceutical called Unimate that most people have not heard of. And it's a shame because they are natural. They are in the physician's desk reference, that book that we just referenced, they're in there. Okay, they are also, not only are they in the PDR, they are HSA qualified and FSA qualified. They are as legitimate gets. All right. Balance is actually the only natural, clinically proven and patented alternative to statin drugs that is in the physician's desk reference. It has phytosterols, niacin, soluble fiber, some polycosanol, some chromium, right? It has all of these things in the Balance. Unimate is a natural alternative, and Balance also doubles as an alternative to metformin in many cases. But Unimate, it lowers the food noise, and it does it naturally. It increases the GLP-1 naturally, and it does this with lots of chlorogenic acid. It's an extract of the mate plant. That's why it's called Unimate, right? And these two are like peanut butter and jelly. If you use the Balance and the Unimate together, what happens is magical. Okay. And let me just finish this little slide, which I've never shown before publicly. Let me just finish this by saying that this right here, this combination is actually guaranteed. It is guaranteed to work. Where if you do blood work in 90 days, it is guaranteed to be measurably better. You'll see a measurable improvement every time. Okay. Or they just give you a refund, right? I don't know of any guarantees on any of this stuff at all. So this is not only safe and natural, but it's guaranteed to work. All right. So shifting gears here, and I'm jumping around to different slideshows, bear with me. There is a problem, the problem of insulin resistance, that, as Dr. Midge put, is the root cause of so many other problems. And this protocol is really designed to attack the problem of insulin resistance. This is the problem that killed my dad, ultimately, right? And so what we have is we have a solution, a protocol that nobody can copy, that is clinically proven and guaranteed to work. How it works is in two steps, the Unimate and the Balance. Okay. Now, I want to let you know before I do this demonstration, the cost of this protocol is $5, roughly $5 per day in most countries. Okay. So it's basically the cost of a cup of coffee to get the entire protocol. All right. And when you're on the protocol, most of us do a little bit of intermittent fasting where we skip a meal. Well, a meal costs more than $5 per day. So this pays for itself, right? So let me explain how these two work and why they work. And then I want to give you some really great proof, and then we'll wrap up the call with something kind of special. So this is the blend of plant fiber that I mixed up moments ago. Now, you remember how thin and liquidy it was. Now it is turned into almost sludge, okay? Now, I wouldn't wait for this to happen. I would drink it immediately while it was still thin. We want this gelling to happen inside the stomach. This blend of plant fiber creates a gel, an envelope around the food that you eat. So let me demonstrate why this just works so well. So pretend that this bowl is your stomach, and you, before a meal, have taken this blend of plant fiber, and now you've got this in your stomach, and you eat, all right? And this Cheez-It represents the modern diet. Processed, carbohydrates, and fat together, right? This is the modern diet. Well, when you eat this by itself, your blood sugar spikes, a bunch of the carbohydrates spike the blood sugar, the fat in the Cheez-It. There's a lot of fat in this that's been added, and that fat will basically just go right into your fat cells. You know, insulin opens the door, and then the fat cell goes in, and this goes right to your stomach, right? When you take carbs or fats, or carbs and fats, and you eat them, it creates a gel, a highly viscous fiber gel around what you eat. This slows the digestion of the carbohydrates so that blood sugar and insulin do not spike. It also naturally helps control cholesterol and triglycerides. It often works as well as a statin and sometimes better than a statin for cholesterol, but with no drugs, right? It often works as well as metformin, sometimes better than metformin, but with no drugs. Fiber is also incredibly satiating. And so when you drink the thin liquid, but then later it starts to thicken and expand like this, it takes up space in your stomach, helping people that struggle with overeating avoid overeating. Okay. So I literally take a packet of this fiber everywhere I go. I've got it in my car. I've got it at my office. I have sometimes it in my backpack or my back pocket even. I can whip it out, and before a meal, if you simply mix this up before your meals, it is a game changer, okay? And then whenever I'm not eating, I will sip the Unimate. The Unimate naturally increases GLP-1. It works better than anything I've ever found for just quieting food noise. I can fast forever on Unimate. I forget about food. Okay. And so you can mix it with any bottle of water. You take a packet, you dump it in the water, and you sip it. I'll do a couple of these every day, just between meals in the morning when I'm doing the intermittent fasting. And after doing this protocol, not only was I able to reach my target weight, but I've been able to maintain it effortlessly for over 2 years now. It works almost 3 years now. It is incredible. And anybody that invited you to this call wants you to know that this is something that they're excited about because of how well it's working for them. And so when you order this, you order it direct from the manufacturer. Direct from the manufacturer, you get the best possible price, and the manufacturer will actually give you a discount link so that anybody you want to refer in the future gets the same discount pricing. And as you refer other people, they give you some credit on your account so that you can get your product cheaper or for free from the manufacturer. It is an amazing referral program. I buy this every month. My wife buys it every month. We love it. It has been life-changing. My wife reversed her prediabetes, her endometriosis. Now, just because I've been doing way too much talking, over talking even, I'll stop for a moment. I want to ask the audience here for a favor. If you or someone in your household has been using this protocol, whether you've been using it for a week or a month or a couple of years like me, right? If you would do me a favor and just put a sentence or two in the chat, what has this done for you? I obviously don't want anybody to exaggerate, right? But just what has it done for you? Any measurable positive results that you could share? I would like the hundreds of people that are watching this to hear some of these so that they can see just how amazing this can be. Okay, I'm going to scroll down and read a few of these. Holy cow. Okay. Scott Gamel, I have lost 73 pounds in 5 months. Troy Hatch, I reversed stage 4 kidney disease. I've lost 32 pounds. I was able to get rid of my migraines after having them for 23 years. Jared Hoops, down 55 pounds in 3.5 months, reversed my prediabetes. My A1c went from a 6 to a 5.4. Congrats. Renee Peterson, down over 77 pounds, off meds, better energy, sleep, inflammation, and vertigo are gone. Jimmy Elizondo, I have reversed my non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and type 2 diabetes, blood pressure down, sleep apnea, depression, erectile dysfunction gone, down 88 pounds off 8 meds, all without a thyroid. Melissa Bradley, reversed my prediabetes, off blood pressure, and all meds in 3 months. No more joint pain, way more energy, much better sleep. Renee Bird, reversed type 2 diabetes, depression gone, vision improved, lost 47 pounds, feels 25 years younger. Janine Patterson, I reversed my pre-diet. Are you guys hearing this? I mean, this is incredible. I mean, if I were to say these things, the FTC would probably knock on my front door and be like, what are you promoting, dude? Right? So I really appreciate you guys just sharing your stories here. Janine Patterson says, I've reversed my prediabetes and insulin resistance, ended the daily hangriness, lost 25 pounds just by following the protocol over the holidays. Easiest system ever with great results. Michael Smith, no more body aches, pains, falling asleep fast, sleeping through the night, no more brain fog, more energy, feel like I'm 20. Johnny Grandison, in a few months, I'm down over 30 pounds, lost 5.5 inches off my waist. I have plenty of sustained energy and off my CPAP machine. There are 66 additional comments, okay? And I just want to close this meeting with a quick picture. Two pictures, actually, okay? I want to ask you a question. Okay. We started doing this with a very small group of us. And as you can see, I mean, if you just read those stories, this is changing the world for these people. And we believe that we can start, really be instrumental in like the de-pharmification. I mean, drugs can be amazing, and we certainly know that they can be life-saving, but all medical professionals, I mean, a lot of you are on this call, believe in minimum necessary medication, right? And I believe that this can be part of the de-pharmification of the country. Now, just in closing, I want you to look at this, okay? How many people do you know that are struggling with one or more of these things? Seriously, if you went to a family reunion, how many people are suffering from this stuff? And what if by helping them fix their problem, this problem of insulin resistance that Dr. Brown so eloquently and beautifully articulated, what if by helping them solve this one problem, you could help them solve a bunch of other problems that they have, right? Who would you help? Who would you save? Who who comes to mind? Maybe you, maybe somebody you love. I share this because, if I had a time machine, I would go save my dad, who is a great man, who I love. And, for my dad, it was just, I didn't know how to help him. Who am I? I'm not a doctor or medical professional. As I've studied this, I've thought, maybe my mission is to help other people save their dads or moms or loved ones. And what if, look at the stories in the chat. What if this could do for you what it's done for so many other people? What if this could do for you what it did for Harvey or for Dr. MIJ Brown or for Dr. MIJ Brown's husband, Steve? A incredible story, or her dad, right? What else might happen in your life if you were able to get rid of some of the problems you're dealing with, right? And why not try something that is totally guaranteed to work, is clinically proven, and that pays for itself? If you follow the protocol, if you use it properly and are consistent, it will work for you. And if for any reason you decide that it's not your cup of tea, you can just get a refund. If you use it properly and are consistent, it won't let you down. This right here is willpower in a packet. I've struggled with willpower my whole life. This is willpower in a packet, and it works. So we're glad that you're here. We hope that you'll embrace this protocol. Look at that chat. Look at what's happening. We hope that you will embrace it. And next week, if somebody that you love is struggling with their metabolic health, invite them to this call. We'll have another great guest. We'll educate and teach you, and we'll share this protocol. Our goal is to change the world, and we can't do it alone. We need your help. So thanks, everybody, for coming on this call. I am going to sit here and read through some of these stories because I didn't read 74 additional stories that I want to read. So I'm going to just read a couple of these. And if you'd like to hang out with me for a moment, you can. Okay, here's one that I missed. James Ciccarelli. I've lost 130 pounds, reversed my type 2 diabetes, no more high blood pressure, no more fatty liver. James says that his 9.2 A1c went down to a 5.4. Incredible. Happy for you, Jim. Rosalind McKibben says, no issues with psoriasis or acid reflux, lost 13 pounds in a month. Andrew Risegraph, I've lost 52 pounds in 4 months, dropped triglycerides by 90 points, increased HDL higher than ever before, no longer on testosterone injections. Zoom user, we hear this a lot, says it cured my IBS, cured irritable bowel syndrome. If you aren't, maybe you have no weight to lose. I mean, you hear a lot of these stories that are talking about, oh, I lost this weight. There are so many people. We have athletes. We actually have world record holding athletes that are now using the Unimate for their training daily. Okay. They're having balance before their meals. They're using Unimate because the science is just so awesome. I don't care how healthy a person feels like they are. When they go on this protocol, they feel fantastic. And the results are just amazing. So, Cynthia Harvey, I had no more anemia. How about that? I'm not familiar with that. Within months, down 35 pounds, no more arthritis, inflammation, or pain. Carol Lee, no headaches in over a year. My brain fog is gone. I'm down 30 pounds in 5 months. Sam Watley, reversed my type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, down 52 pounds in 90 days. Dana Naff, I've lowered my triglycerides, higher LDL, lower LDL, higher HDL, lower LDL, excuse me. So these are amazing. We love this kind of winning. And thanks everybody for coming on the call. Thank you, Harvey Harrington. Thank you, Dr. MIJ Brown. We'll see you guys next week. Have a great night. Pam Kucharski says, my mom has prediabetes. I'm going to try to help her. Awesome, Pam.